I hadn't set foot in Chicago for 3 years. Standing outside St. Augustine Cathedral, watching mourners file through heavy oak doors, I knew exactly how long it had been. 3 years, 2 months, and 16 days since the fight that severed me from my twin sister. The cab driver had asked if I was okay when I gave him the address. I must have looked as hollow as I felt. My reflection in his rearview mirror showed a stranger with blonde hair, pulled back too tight. Blue eyes rimmed red from crying on the flight from Prague. 28 years old, and I'd just lost the only person who shared my face, my DNA, half my childhood memories. Natalie was dead. Car accident, they said. The words in the email from her neighbor felt clinical, detached. Your sister passed away in a single-vehicle collision on Lakeshore Drive. Funeral services Friday at 2. I should have been here sooner. Should have answered her calls 6 months ago. Should have forgiven her for falling in love with a man whose world I couldn't stomach. But pride is a poison that works slowly, and now I'd never get the chance to tell her I was sorry. The cathedral steps were crowded with people I didn't recognize. Expensive suits, designer dresses, the kind of polished crowd that didn't belong at the funeral of a woman who used to steal my clothes and eat cereal straight from the box. These weren't Natalie's people. At least, not the Natalie I remembered. I pushed through the entrance. Late because my connecting flight had been delayed. The service had already started. A priest's voice echoed through the vaulted space. But I couldn't focus on his words. My eyes locked on the casket at the front, draped in white lilies. She was in there, my mirror image, forever still. Then I felt it, the weight of attention shifting like a physical force. Heads turned. One by one, the mourners twisted in their pews to stare at me. Gasps rippled through the crowd. A woman in the third row clutched her chest, her face draining of color. An older man stood abruptly, his chair scraping against marble. They were looking at me like I was a ghost. Of course, they saw Natalie. We were identical twins, same bone structure, same blue eyes, same wheat blonde hair. The only differences were invisible. She'd been fire where I was ice, impulsive where I was calculated. Our parents had trained us both, passed down their skills in observation, languages, survival, but Natalie had wanted freedom from that legacy. I'd embraced it. Natalie? Someone whispered her name like a prayer. I kept walking down the aisle, my heels clicking against stone. Every eye followed me. I didn't belong here, that much was clear, but I needed to see her one last time. Needed to say goodbye to the girl who used to hold my hand during thunderstorms when we were 6. My gaze swept across the front rows, searching for anyone familiar. That's when I saw him. He sat in the first pew, shoulders rigid beneath a black suit that probably cost more than my rent for a year. Dark hair, perfectly styled, strong jaw, the kind of profile that belonged on Roman statues. Even from behind, he radiated power, authority, danger. Gabriel Donatelli. Had to be. The man Natalie had chosen over me. He turned, and the world stopped. Devastation carved into every line of his face, transformed into something else. Shock, desperate hope, disbelief. Dark brown eyes, nearly black in the cathedral's dim light, went wide. His lips parted as if to speak, but no sound came. He rose from his seat, stumbling slightly, one hand reaching toward me. Natalie. His voice broke on her name, raw and desperate. How is this possible? The pain in his voice gutted me. He thought she was alive. He thought I was her, standing here when she should be in that casket. Everyone in the cathedral held their breath, waiting for the impossible. I stopped 3 feet away from him, close enough to see his hand trembling as it reached for me, close enough to see tears gathering in his eyes. Close enough to watch hope and grief war across his features. I'm not Natalie, I said quietly, my voice steady despite the chaos. I'm her sister, her twin sister. The words hit him like a physical blow. His reaching hand froze in midair, then slowly lowered. The desperate hope in his eyes died, replaced by crushing realization, then confusion, then something harder. Sister. He said the word like he was testing it, trying to make sense of reality. Twin sister. Identical, I confirmed, watching him process this. My name is Lauren Cooper. Natalie never mentioned me? Something flickered across his face. Pain. Betrayal. She said her parents were dead. No siblings. No family. His jaw clenched. She never mentioned you. Around us, whispers exploded. The crowd had gone from watching a miracle to watching a revelation. I could feel their eyes boring into me. Could hear fragments of conversation in multiple languages. My training kicked in automatically. Cataloging reactions. Measuring threats. We had a falling out, I said, forcing myself not to back away from his intensity. 3 years ago. When she told me about you. His dark eyes searched mine, looking for Natalie in my features and finding someone else entirely. You're real. You're not. He stopped himself, closed his eyes briefly. When he opened them again, the devastated man had been replaced by something colder, more controlled. We need to talk, after. I came for my sister's funeral, not after, he repeated, and it wasn't a request. He pulled a card from his jacket pocket and pressed it into my hand. 1 hour. The address is on there. Come alone, or don't come at all. He turned back to the service before I could respond, sitting down with rigid control, but I'd seen his hands. They were shaking. I forced myself to look away, to focus on the casket, made it to the 3rd row before my legs threatened to give out. Slid into an empty space beside an elderly woman who crossed herself and muttered something in Italian. The priest continued speaking, but I caught fragments of whispered conversations around me, phrases in English, Italian, languages I recognized from my work as a translator. Does he know about the twin? How did she hide this? Look at his face. He's destroyed all over again. I studied the mourners while pretending to listen to the eulogy. There were too many of them, first of all. Natalie had been a free spirit, a photographer who traveled light and kept few friends, yet the cathedral was packed. Second, the security. I counted at least 6 men positioned at intervals along the walls, their jackets cut to conceal weapons. They weren't looking at the priest. They were scanning the crowd, watching exits, communicating with subtle hand signals. This wasn't a normal funeral. This was a fortress. My eyes drifted to conversations happening in hushed tones. A man in the 5th row was speaking rapid Italian to his companion, and I caught the words accident and Albanese and too convenient. Albanian. That sent ice through my veins. The Balkan mafias were notoriously brutal. If they were involved in Natalie's death, then this wasn't an accident at all. I leaned forward, straining to hear more. The man continued, mentioning Lakeshore Drive, brake lines, and something about a message. My translator's brain assembled the pieces automatically. They were discussing sabotage, murder. Someone had killed my sister. The service ended in a blur. People filed out to the reception hall attached to the cathedral. I stayed rooted in my seat, staring at the casket as workers prepared to move it. My hands trembled in my lap. I'd suspected something was wrong from the moment I read that email. Natalie was an excellent driver, paranoid about maintenance after our father had drilled vehicle safety into us as kids. A single vehicle collision on a straight stretch of road? It didn't add up. Miss Cooper? I turned to find an older man with silver hair standing in the aisle. His movements were careful, respectful, but his eyes held warning. I'm Franco Rinaldi. I handle security for the Donatelli family. The Mafia family, you mean? Mr. Donatelli would like to speak with you, privately, away from here. His tone was gentle but firm. Please, for your own safety. My safety? You look exactly like a woman who was murdered 3 days ago. There are people in this church who might not immediately understand you're not her. People who might see you as a threat, or an opportunity, or... He paused. Please come with me. Mr. Donatelli is waiting. I looked back at Natalie's casket one last time, then at the card Gabriel had given me. Just an address. No name, no business. The kind of place that didn't advertise. I'll follow you in my own car, I said. I'm not getting into a vehicle with people I don't know. Franco's mouth twitched in what might have been approval. Smart. The address is the reception venue. Many people will be there. You won't be alone with him. I stood, grabbed my purse, and followed Franco toward a side exit. As we passed through the doorway, I glanced back one more time. Gabriel stood by the casket, one hand resting on the white wood, his head bowed. Even from a distance, I could see his shoulders shaking. He'd loved her. Really loved her. And I'd just shattered whatever fragile hope my appearance had given him. I walked out into cold Chicago air, following Franco to a waiting car. My sister deserved the truth about her death. And if that meant walking into the world that had killed her, then that's exactly what I'd do, even if it destroyed me in the process. The reception was held in a private room that screamed old money and older secrets. Crystal chandeliers cast fractured light across marble floors. Waitstaff moved between clusters of mourners, offering champagne and whispered condolences. I accepted a glass I had no intention of drinking and positioned myself near a window. Black cars lined the curb, expensive ones. Drivers stood at attention, hands folded, eyes alert. This wasn't just wealth on display. This was power. I stayed on the periphery, listening. People talked more freely when they thought you weren't paying attention. My father had taught me that. Listen first. Act later. You look just like her. A woman's voice, soft and sad. I turned to find someone around Natalie's age, with kind eyes and a tissue clutched in her hand. I'm sorry. I'm Rachel. I worked with Natalie at the gallery downtown. Gallery. That was new. She never mentioned working at a gallery. She started about 8 months ago. Photography exhibits mostly. Rachel's smile trembled. She talked about you once. Said she had a sister she missed. The words hit harder than they should have. She said that? Not in detail. Natalie was private, but I could tell it hurt her. Whatever happened between you two. Rachel glanced around nervously. She was scared the last few weeks. Jumpy. Kept checking her phone, looking over her shoulder. Did you tell the police? The police? Rachel's laugh held no humor. Gabriel Donatelli owns half this city. The police don't ask questions he doesn't want answered. Before I could respond, the room shifted. Conversations quieted. Heads turned. Gabriel had arrived, and he brought the temperature down with him. He moved through the crowd like a knife through water, people parting instinctively. Franco walked 2 steps behind. Gabriel's gaze found mine across the space, and he gave a subtle nod toward a door on the far side. I should go, Rachel said quickly. Be careful, okay? She disappeared before I could thank her. I made my way to the indicated door, acutely aware of the attention I drew. Being Natalie's ghost was exhausting. The door led to a smaller room, intimate and windowless. Gabriel stood with his back to me, staring at a painting. Franco flanked the entrance like a sentry. Close the door, Gabriel said without turning around. I did. The sound of the lock clicking felt ominous. You wanted to talk, I said, refusing to show nervousness. So talk. He turned slowly, and the grief I'd seen in the cathedral had been replaced by something harder. Controlled. You said you believe Natalie was murdered. Why? Because she was an excellent driver who maintained her vehicle obsessively. Because single-car accidents on straight roads don't happen without cause. And because I heard your people talking about Albanians and sabotage during the service. Something flickered in his expression. Surprise. You speak Italian. Among other languages. Translator. It's how I make a living. I crossed my arms. Your turn. Who are the Albanians and why did they want my sister dead? Gabriel moved to a sideboard and poured amber liquid into 2 glasses. He offered me one. I shook my head. The Kosovar organization, he said, taking a drink. They've been trying to move into Chicago territory for 2 years. Natalie became a target because she was close to me. You mean because she was your fiancée? Yes. He set down the glass with precise control. She knew the risks. I warned her what this life meant, and she stayed anyway. The bitterness in my voice surprised me. That sounds like Natalie, always running toward the fire. She was brave. She was reckless. I met his dark eyes. There's a difference. Gabriel studied me with unsettling intensity. You are nothing like her. Finally, something we agree on. When Natalie spoke, it was with passion, fire. Emotion ruled her decisions. He stepped closer, and I refused to back away. You calculate. You observe. You weaponize silence. Is that an insult or a compliment? An observation. He was close enough now that I could smell his cologne. Something expensive and cedar dark. One that makes me wonder why she never mentioned having a twin. Especially one trained to disappear. My blood went cold. What? You move like someone taught you to avoid detection. You position yourself near exits. You listen more than you speak. Those are not natural instincts, Miss Cooper. They're survival skills. His head tilted slightly. Who taught you? I should have lied. Should have deflected. Instead, something in his directness pulled truth from me. Our parents. Before they died. And what were your parents? Careful. The corner of his mouth twitched. Almost a smile. I could have you investigated. Find out everything about you in 24 hours. Then why ask? Because I want to hear it from you. We stared at each other, locked in some unspoken battle of wills. Finally, I exhaled. They fled Russia in the 90s, started over here, taught us to protect ourselves, to leave no traces, to survive in a world that didn't forgive mistakes. Natalie rejected it. I embraced it. That's why she couldn't find you, Gabriel said, understanding dawning. She tried. Hired investigators. They found nothing. Because I didn't want to be found. The admission tasted like ash. I was angry, stubborn, and instead, you lost her. The words gutted me. I turned away, blinking back tears I refused to let fall. Are you trying to hurt me? Or does it come naturally? I'm trying to understand. His voice softened marginally. Natalie never spoke of you, yet she kept a photograph. One picture, hidden in her jewelry box. 2 blonde girls, maybe 6 years old, holding hands. I found it after she died. My breath caught. Halloween, dressed as matching princesses. Our mother had taken it the week before everything changed. She kept that? My voice cracked despite my best efforts. She did. Gabriel moved to stand beside me, not touching but present, which tells me that whatever happened between you, she never stopped loving you. And that you didn't come here just for answers. Of course I did. She was my sister. Then help me find who killed her. I turned to face him. You already know who killed her. The Albanians. I know who gave the order. I don't know who executed it, who tampered with her car, who watched her die. His jaw clenched. And I need to know before I can act. Act, I repeated. You mean retaliate. I mean justice. Your version of justice likely involves body bags and unmarked graves. He didn't deny it. Does that bother you? It should have. Normal people were bothered by violence, by vengeance, by the kind of justice that happened in shadows. But I wasn't normal. I'd been raised by people who understood that some threats required permanent solutions. No, I admitted quietly. It doesn't. Gabriel's expression shifted, something almost like respect crossing his features. Then work with me. Your skills, my resources. We find the truth together. And then what? I go back to my life and pretend this never happened? If you're smart, yes. I laughed, the sound harsh. I stopped being smart the moment I got on that plane to Chicago. Miss Cooper. Franco spoke from the doorway, his tone urgent. We have a situation. Gabriel's posture changed instantly, becoming something dangerous. What kind of situation? The kind that followed her here. My stomach dropped. What? Franco pulled out a phone, showed us security footage. Black sedan parked across from my hotel. 2 men visible inside, faces obscured. The timestamp showed them arriving 10 minutes after I'd checked in this morning. Albanian? Gabriel asked. Most likely. They've been stationary for hours. I processed this information with forced calm. They followed me from the airport, or they've been monitoring the funeral. Gabriel countered, waiting to see if anyone unexpected showed up. His dark eyes fixed on me. Which you did. So what? They know Natalie had a twin. How is that a threat? Because you're asking questions. Because you look exactly like the woman they killed. He pulled out his phone, typed rapidly. You're not going back to that hotel. Excuse me? Franco, take her to the house. North property, full security detail. I am not going anywhere with you, I said firmly. I can handle myself. Against trained killers? With what? Sharp words and careful observation? His tone turned sharp. This is not negotiable, Miss Cooper. You involved yourself in this by coming here. Now you're a target. I can protect you or I can have someone clean up your body when they're finished. Your choice. The brutal honesty should have terrified me. Instead, something in me responded to it. The part that Natalie had shared. The part that recognized danger and ran toward it anyway. Fine, I said, but we do this my way. I'm not a prisoner, and I'm not helpless. I help investigate, or you can explain to the police how you let your dead fiancé's twin sister get murdered under your watch. Gabriel's eyes narrowed. Are you threatening me? I'm negotiating. For a long moment, we stood locked in silent combat. Then, impossibly, he smiled. A real smile. Small and sharp. Natalie never threatened me. She would beg, cry, seduce. You hold a knife to my throat and dare me to bleed. Is that a yes? That's a we'll discuss terms in a secured location. He gestured to Franco. Take her. I'll handle things here and meet you in an hour. Franco moved toward me, respectful but firm. I grabbed my purse and followed him out a side exit, away from the reception, away from witnesses. As we walked toward a waiting car, I pulled out my phone and sent a quick message to my emergency contact. Just in case. The last thing I saw before the car door closed was Gabriel watching from a window, his expression unreadable. I'd just agreed to enter the world that killed my sister. The world I'd spent my whole life learning to avoid. But Natalie deserved the truth, and I was going to get it, even if it destroyed me. Franco drove in silence, his eyes constantly checking mirrors. 2 cars followed us, maintaining precise distance. Protection detail, I assumed. The cityscape blurred past until buildings gave way to trees, then water. Lake Michigan stretched dark and infinite to our right, moonlight carving silver paths across its surface. How far is this place? I asked, breaking the quiet. 20 minutes north of the city. Secure location. Franco's tone was professional, almost gentle. Mr. Donatelli has several properties. This one is the safest. Safe from what, exactly? The Albanians you all keep mentioning? His jaw tightened. From anyone who might want to hurt you because of who you look like. Because I looked like Natalie. Because some part of me was her. Walking and breathing when she no longer could. The thought made my chest ache. We turned onto a private road, gates opening automatically. The property emerged from darkness like something out of a film. Modern architecture mixed with classic stonework. Floor-to-ceiling windows glowing warm against the night. Manicured lawns sloped down to a private dock. Money didn't just whisper here. It sang. Men in dark suits stood at strategic points. They nodded to Franco as we passed, their attention sharp and assessing when they saw me. I counted 8 visible guards. Probably more I couldn't see. Franco opened my door, and I stepped out into cold air that smelled of water and pine. Your luggage will be retrieved from the hotel and brought here. For now, let me show you inside. The foyer took my breath away. Marble floors, a staircase that curved like art, paintings that belonged in museums. But it was the photographs that stopped me cold. Natalie. Everywhere. On the mantel, the side tables. An entire wall dedicated to her smile, her laughter, her life with Gabriel. My throat constricted. This was his grief on display. His love immortalized in frames. Mr. Donatelli keeps her memory close, Franco said quietly, noticing my reaction. He has not been the same since she died. They were together, how long? 2 years. She changed him, made him want to be better. Franco's expression softened with genuine affection. She was light in a dark world, and I was the shadow of that light, the painful reminder of what he'd lost. Franco led me upstairs, down a hallway lined with more art. He opened a door to a guest room that was larger than my entire apartment in Prague. King bed, sitting area, balcony overlooking the lake. Everything was cream and silver, elegant and impersonal. You'll be comfortable here. Bathroom through that door. Clothes in the closet if you need them. He paused at the threshold. There are guards outside, but they're for your protection, not to keep you prisoner. Mr. Donatelli will arrive soon. Until then, rest. You're safe here. The door closed with a soft click, leaving me alone with my thoughts and my sister's ghost. I explored the room with professional thoroughness. 2 exits, The door and the balcony. Windows locked, but not alarmed. Third floor, too high to jump, but possible to climb down if necessary. Old habits from childhood training, assessing every space for escape routes. The closet held women's clothing. Natalie's, I realized, touching soft fabrics in jewel tones. Emerald, sapphire, ruby. She'd always loved bold colors. I'd preferred neutrals, grays and blacks that helped me disappear. Even our wardrobes reflected who we'd become. Movement outside caught my eye. I moved to the window, careful to stay partially hidden. A car pulled up, and Gabriel emerged, followed by another man I didn't recognize. They spoke briefly, Gabriel's body language tense, authoritative. Then he looked up, directly at my window, as if he knew I'd be watching. Our eyes met across the distance. Even from here, I felt the intensity of his gaze. He disappeared inside. Minutes later, a knock on my door. "Come in," I called, already knowing who it was. Gabriel entered, and the room seemed to shrink around his presence. He'd removed his suit jacket, loosened his tie. Exhaustion lined his face, but beneath it, something harder remained. The grief-stricken fiancée from the funeral had been replaced by someone else entirely. Someone dangerous. "You settled?" he asked, closing the door behind him. As much as one can be when kidnapped by a mafia boss. His mouth quirked. Rescued. The word is rescued. Semantics. He moved to the window, looked out at the dark water. This was Natalie's favorite room. She'd spend hours on that balcony, photographing the lake at different times of day. The information hurt. "You brought me to her room? It's the safest one. Best sightlines, reinforced walls, direct access to security." He turned to face me, though I suppose that wasn't the only reason. What was the other reason? Maybe I wanted to see if you'd react the same way she did. If you'd stand at that window and see what she saw. His dark eyes searched mine. But you don't. You cataloged exits, assessed threats, calculated risk. Even in grief, you're a survivor first. Is that criticism? It's admiration. He crossed to a dresser, opened a drawer, and pulled out a leather journal. "I found this after the funeral, hidden in Natalie's things at the gallery. The police report on her accident is cursory at best. But this tells a different story." He handed me the journal. Natalie's handwriting covered the pages, familiar loops and curves that made my heart clench. I forced myself to focus on the words. Dates, times, descriptions of men following her, license plates, notes about conversations she'd overheard. My sister had been investigating something, documenting it with the same thoroughness our father had taught us. She was tracking the Albanians, I said, flipping through pages, trying to identify who was giving orders, who was making moves. Without telling me, Gabriel's voice held pain and anger in equal measure. She knew I would have stopped her, protected her. Instead, she played detective and got herself killed. She was trying to help you. She was trying to prove something. He moved closer, looking over my shoulder at the journal. Natalie always felt like she didn't belong in my world. Too soft, too innocent. She wanted to prove she could handle it. I found an entry dated 3 weeks before her death. The handwriting was shakier here. Urgent. She mentions a name. Silvio. Says he's been acting strange, taking calls he doesn't want overheard. Gabriel's entire body went rigid. "Show me." I pointed to the passage. Natalie had written about seeing Silvio meeting with someone at a restaurant downtown. A man she described as Albanian based on his features and language. They'd exchanged an envelope. "Silvio Moretti," Gabriel said, his voice dropping to something lethal. "My counselor. I've known him 15 years. Trusted him with everything. Natalie suspected he was working with the Albanians?" Suspected. Not confirmed, but I could see the gears turning in his mind, reassessing every interaction, every decision. If she's right, if Silvio betrayed me, then he didn't just pass information. He killed her. He gave them everything they needed to get to her. The fury in his voice was terrifying and oddly comforting. This was a man who would burn the world down for revenge. "We need proof," I said, forcing logic into the emotional storm. "Suspicion isn't enough. Proof can be extracted. Through torture. That won't hold up in any court. Who said anything about courts? Gabriel took the journal from my hands, his fingers brushing mine. The contact sent electricity up my arm. You need to understand something, Lauren. In my world, justice doesn't come from judges and juries. It comes from loyalty and consequences. If Silvio betrayed me, betrayed Natalie, he'll answer for it. Permanently. I should have been horrified, should have argued for law and order and civilized solutions. Instead, I thought about my sister, terrified and alone in those final moments. About someone tampering with her car, watching her drive away to her death. Then let's get proof, I said quietly. And when we do, you can handle it however you see fit. Gabriel studied me for a long moment, and something shifted in his expression. Understanding, maybe. Recognition that we weren't so different, he and I. Both raised in worlds where violence was currency and survival meant hard choices. A sharp sound shattered the moment. Breaking glass, shouting from downstairs. Gabriel's gun was in his hand before I could process what was happening. Stay here. Lock the door. What's going on? Someone just breached the perimeter. He moved to the door, every line of his body coiled and ready for violence. Franco! The door burst open and Franco appeared, weapon drawn, blood streaming from a cut on his temple. Albanians, 3 vehicles. They rammed the gate. Gabriel's expression went cold. How many? At least a dozen. Maybe more. Gunfire erupted from somewhere below. Glass shattered. Men shouted in multiple languages. My training kicked in, overriding panic. Where's the safest location in the house? Panic room, basement level, Franco said. But we need to move now. Gabriel grabbed my hand, pulling me toward the door. His grip was firm, steady. Stay behind me. Don't stop for anything. We ran. The hallway was chaos. Smoke filled the air. Alarms shrieked. And somewhere below, men were dying. Gabriel kept my hand locked in his as we moved, Franco leading with his weapon raised. 2 of Gabriel's guards appeared from a side corridor, taking defensive positions. Cover the stairs, Gabriel ordered. No one gets past this floor. We descended a back stairwell I hadn't noticed earlier. The sounds of fighting grew more distant, contained to the front of the house. Gabriel's security was holding the line, buying us time. The basement was surprisingly modern. Concrete reinforced with steel, emergency lighting casting everything in harsh white. Franco led us to what looked like a wine cellar, but when he pressed his palm to a panel, a section of wall slid open. The panic room was exactly what I expected. Reinforced walls, surveillance monitors showing multiple angles of the property, emergency supplies, weapons, a fortress within a fortress. How long can we stay here? I asked as Franco sealed the entrance behind us. As long as necessary, Gabriel said, moving to the monitors. His jaw clenched as he watched his men engage the attackers. Though I don't plan to hide while my people fight. Your people are trained for this. You're more valuable alive than dead in some pointless shootout. His dark eyes cut to me. Pointless? Strategic, I corrected. You said yourself this is about loyalty and consequences. Getting yourself killed before you can deliver those consequences would be pointless. Franco made a sound that might have been a suppressed laugh. She has a point, boss. Gabriel's expression remained hard, but he turned back to the monitors. I watched over his shoulder as the battle unfolded in grainy black and white. The Albanians were professional, coordinated. They'd come prepared for Gabriel's security, which suggested inside information. They knew the layout, I said quietly. Knew where your guards would be positioned. Someone told them. Silvio. Gabriel's voice was lethal. He's not answering his phone. Neither is his second in command. Convenient timing. Franco, I want Silvio found. Now. And I want to know where he was tonight. Franco was already on his phone, speaking rapid Italian to someone on the other end. Meanwhile, the monitors showed Gabriel's men slowly gaining ground. The attackers were retreating, outnumbered and outgunned now that the element of surprise had faded. 10 minutes later, it was over. Bodies littered the front lawn, most of them Albanian. 3 of Gabriel's men were injured, 1 seriously. But they'd held the property. All clear, Franco reported, receiving confirmation through his earpiece. Perimeter secure, ambulance en route for our wounded. Gabriel holstered his weapon. The bodies? Being handled. Police have been notified it was an attempted robbery. They won't ask questions. Of course they wouldn't. This was just another night in a world where violence was currency, and law enforcement looked the other way. We returned upstairs to find the house transformed. Bullet holes pocked the walls. Glass glittered across marble floors. Blood stained the foyer where someone had fallen. Men in dark suits moved with practiced efficiency, cleaning, documenting, erasing evidence. "Your room is untouched," Franco said to me. "But perhaps you'd prefer different accommodations tonight." "She stays near me," Gabriel said before I could respond. "The master suite. Double the guards on that floor." I should have argued, should have insisted on independence. But standing in the wreckage of an attack meant to kill me. I found myself nodding. Gabriel led me to the opposite wing, to a suite that was somehow both luxurious and masculine. Dark woods, leather, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the lake. A California king bed dominated the space. "There's a sitting room through there," he said, gesturing to an adjoining door. "Couch converts to a bed. You'll have privacy." "Thank you." He moved to the windows, looking out at the water. Dawn was breaking, painting the sky in shades of amber and rose. We'd survived the night, but at what cost? "They'll come again," I said quietly. "The Albanians. If Silvio told them about me, they'll keep trying until I'm dead. Then we eliminate the threat before they get another chance." He turned to face me, exhaustion lining his features. "I should never have brought you here. Should have put you on the first plane back to Prague and forgotten you existed. But you didn't." "No, I didn't." His gaze held mine, searching. "Because you're the first person who understands. Who knows what it's like to lose someone and want vengeance more than breath. Who doesn't flinch at the ugly truth of what I am. And what are you, Gabriel? A monster who loved an angel. Who watched her die because I couldn't protect her. Who sees her face every time I look at you and knows I'm failing her all over again." The pain in his voice broke something in me. I crossed the space between us. Driven by impulse I didn't understand. I'm not her. I'll never be her. But I'm here. And I'm not going anywhere until we find who killed my sister. His hand came up, fingers tracing my jaw with devastating gentleness. "You look so much like her. Same face, same eyes. But when you speak, when you move, you're completely different. It's like watching a familiar melody played in a different key. Gabriel, I know I shouldn't touch you, shouldn't feel what I'm feeling. But standing here, knowing I almost lost you tonight," his thumb brushed across my lower lip, and heat flooded through me. "Tell me to stop." I should have. Everything about this was wrong, complicated. A betrayal of my sister's memory. But Natalie was gone. And I was alive. And the man standing before me made me feel something I'd never experienced. "I can't," I whispered. He kissed me. Slow at first, questioning. Then deeper when I responded, his hand sliding into my hair, pulling me closer. I tasted coffee and grief, and something desperately alive. My hands fisted in his shirt, needing anchor, needing proof that we'd survived. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, reality crashed back in. "That was a mistake," I said, even as my body screamed otherwise. "Probably." He didn't let go, but I don't regret it. We barely know each other. I know you're brave. I know you're smart. I know you loved your sister enough to walk into danger for answers. His forehead rested against mine. And I know that when I thought those bullets might reach you, I was more terrified than I've been since Natalie died. I pulled back, needing space to think. This is grief. Trauma. Two people clinging to each other because we're both broken. Maybe. Or maybe it's two people finding something real in the middle of hell. He let me go, stepping back. "Get some rest. We'll talk about Silvio when you wake up. Where are you going?" "To deal with the aftermath. To make sure my men are cared for. To start hunting the bastard who betrayed us." His expression hardened. "And when I find him, I'm going to make sure he regrets every breath he took after selling out Natalie." He left before I could respond, leaving me alone in his suite, with the taste of him still on my lips, and questions I couldn't answer. I wandered into the sitting room, found the couch. Through the windows, the lake stretched endless and serene, indifferent to the violence that had unfolded on its shores. Somewhere out there, Silvio was hiding. Somewhere out there, the Albanians were planning their next move. And somewhere in this complicated mess, I was falling for the man who'd loved my sister first. I pulled out my phone, scrolled through old messages from Natalie. Most were years old before our fight. Pictures of her smiling, voice memos of her laughter, evidence of a life lived fully. One message caught my attention, sent 6 months before she died. I met someone, Lore. Someone incredible and terrifying and completely wrong for me. If you were here, you'd tell me to run. But I think I'm going to stay and see where this goes. I hope someday you'll forgive me enough to meet him. She'd been talking about Gabriel, about falling in love despite knowing the danger, about choosing to stay anyway. And now I was following her path, step by terrible step. A soft knock interrupted my thoughts. Franco stood in the doorway, carrying a tray with coffee and pastries. Thought you might need this. It's been a long night. Thank you. I accepted the coffee gratefully. Franco, can I ask you something? Of course. Gabriel and Natalie. Were they happy? He considered the question carefully. They were complicated. She brought light to his darkness, but she was also frustrated by the limitations of his world. He loved her desperately, but struggled to let her be independent. They fought about it often. About her investigating the Albanians? About everything. She wanted to prove herself capable of surviving his world. He wanted to keep her sheltered from it. Franco's expression softened. In the end, neither got what they wanted. But yes, beneath the complications, they were happy. And now I'm here, looking like her ghost, complicating everything. You're not complicating anything, Miss Cooper. You're giving him something I haven't seen since she died. Hope. Franco headed for the door, then paused. For what it's worth, I don't think you're a ghost. I think you're exactly who you are. And maybe that's what he needs instead of a memory. He left me with those words, and a tray of food I couldn't eat. Outside, the sun climbed higher. I'd come to Chicago for answers about Natalie's death. Instead, I'd found myself tangled in the same dangerous web that had killed her. And worse, I was starting to understand why she'd stayed. I woke to the sound of raised voices. For a disoriented moment, I forgot where I was. Then reality crashed back. Gabriel's house. The attack. The kiss that shouldn't have happened. I checked my phone. 2 p.m. I'd slept for hours. The voices were coming from downstairs. I recognized Gabriel's tone. Controlled fury barely leashed. I moved to the door, cracked it open enough to hear. I don't care what excuse he gives. Gabriel's voice carried up the stairwell. Silvio knew about the attack. His phone records show calls to known Albanian operatives. Boss, he's asking to meet. Says he can explain everything. That was Franco, measured and careful. It's a trap. Probably. But he claims he has proof the Albanians are planning something bigger. Silence stretched. Then Gabriel spoke. His voice colder than I'd ever heard it. Set it up. Neutral location. Full security. And Franco? Whatever happens, Silvio doesn't walk away. I dressed quickly in clothes from the closet. Black jeans that fit surprisingly well. A charcoal sweater. Natalie's clothes, I realized. We'd always been the same size. Gabriel was in his office when I found him, standing at the window with his back to the door. He didn't turn when I entered, but his shoulders tensed. You heard, he said. Statement, not question. Hard not to. You weren't exactly quiet. I wasn't trying to be. He finally faced me, exhaustion carving lines around his eyes. Silvio wants to meet tonight, claims he has information, and you think it's a trap. I know it's a trap. The question is whether the information is worth walking into it. He moved to his desk, pulled up security footage on his computer. We found him through his mistress. The screen showed a middle-aged man with silver hair and sharp features. Handsome in a polished way, expensively dressed. He was pacing in what looked like a hotel room, phone pressed to his ear, gesturing wildly. That's Silvio? 30 years in this life. I've known him since I was 18. Gabriel's jaw clenched. And he sold out Natalie for what? Money? Territory? Cowardice? He looked at me, really looked, and something shifted in his expression. You're wearing her clothes. Everything else I own is still at the hotel. She wore this the night I met her, gallery opening downtown. She took my picture without asking, said I had interesting shadows. The intimacy of the memory hung between us. Gabriel, I know this is complicated, that I should keep my distance, that you're her sister and this is wrong. His hand moved to my face, cupping my cheek. But I can't seem to stay away from you. We kissed once, in the aftermath of violence and grief. That doesn't mean... It means everything. His thumb traced my cheekbone. Because I've been thinking about it all day. Because you're not her, Lauren. You're something entirely different. And that terrifies me. I should have pulled away. Instead, I leaned into his touch. What are you saying? I'm saying I want you to come with me tonight. To the meeting with Silvio. I want your eyes on this. Your instincts. You see things others miss. He paused. But more than that, I want you close because the thought of you out of my sight makes me reckless. You want me at a confrontation with the man who killed my sister. I want you helping me get justice for her. I considered this. Every rational part of me screamed that I should leave Chicago. But the part that had loved Natalie, that had inherited our parents' darkness, wanted to see Silvio's face when he realized his betrayal had consequences. Okay, I said. I'll come. Gabriel pulled a small handgun from his safe. Glock 43, 9mm, easy to conceal. Franco will get you a holster. I took the weapon, checked the chamber, tested the weight. The movements came automatically, muscle memory from training sessions when I was 15. You handle that like you've done it before, Gabriel observed. I have. Though I've never shot at a person. Hopefully tonight won't be your first time. The hours until the meeting crawled by. Franco fitted me with an earpiece and a holster that sat comfortably at the small of my back. He walked me through the warehouse layout using blueprints, showing me exits, cover points, danger zones. You stay with Mr. Donatelli at all times, Franco instructed. Silvio is dangerous. He's cornered, desperate. Don't underestimate him. At 8:30, we left. 3 cars, 12 men, enough firepower to start a small war. I sat in the back with Gabriel, his hand finding mine in the darkness. Neither of us spoke. The warehouse loomed against the night sky, dark except for a single entrance lit by harsh spotlights. Silvio's people were already visible, 4 men positioned strategically. Everyone clear on the play? Gabriel spoke into his radio. Confirmations came back. Good. Let's end this. We exited the vehicles. The cold October air bit through my sweater. Gabriel's hand rested on the small of my back as we walked toward the entrance. Franco walked ahead, weapon visible. Inside, the warehouse was exactly what I expected. Concrete floors, rusted equipment, the smell of old oil and decay. Silvio stood in the center under a hanging work light, looking smaller than he had on the security footage. Older. Frightened beneath the expensive suit. Gabriel, his voice carried across the empty space. Thank you for coming. Give me one reason I shouldn't kill you right now. Gabriel's tone was conversational, which somehow made it more terrifying. Because I can give you Victor Castrati, the Albanian boss, location, schedule, vulnerabilities, everything you need to end this war before it destroys you. And why would you do that? You've been working for them. I've been surviving. They approached me a year ago, threatened my family. I gave them information to keep them safe. But they went too far. Silvio's eyes drifted to me, and genuine pain crossed his face. I never wanted Natalie dead. That wasn't supposed to happen. But it did. Gabriel's voice dropped to something lethal. Because you gave them everything they needed to get to her. They said they just wanted leverage. I swear, Gabriel, I didn't know they'd kill her. His voice broke. I've been trying to make it right ever since. By waiting until they attacked my home? Until they nearly killed Lauren? Gabriel took a step forward. Your redemption comes too late. Wait. I spoke for the first time, and everyone's attention shifted to me. You said you're giving us Victor. What's the catch? Silvio's eyes met mine, and I saw calculation behind the fear. The catch is that I walk away. New identity, money, protection. I disappear, and you get the man who actually ordered Natalie's death. No. Gabriel's response was immediate. Then we all die. Silvio pulled his hand from his pocket. and suddenly his men had weapons raised. Gabriel's people responded in kind, and the warehouse became a standoff. I activated a dead man's switch when you arrived. If I don't check in every 15 minutes, information about your operation goes to the FBI. Every account, every contact, every dirty deal. The betrayal ran deeper than we'd known. Silvio hadn't just sold out Natalie. He'd been preparing to destroy everything. Gabriel's expression went cold. You're bluffing. Am I? Are you willing to bet your empire on it? Silvio's voice grew stronger. I'm offering you Victor on a silver platter. The man who killed your fiancée. Take the deal, Gabriel. Let me go, and I'll give you vengeance. The silence stretched tight as a wire. I could feel Gabriel's fury radiating beside me. He wanted Silvio dead. But he wanted Victor more. Show me proof, Gabriel said finally. Proof you actually have access to Victor. Silvio pulled out his phone, tapped the screen, then turned it toward us. A photo showed Victor Castrati entering a building, timestamp from earlier today. Another showed his schedule for the next week, detailed and specific. I've been his inside man for a year. I know everything. Silvio's smile was bitter. Take it or leave it, Gabriel. Decide fast. My next check-in is in 8 minutes. Gabriel looked at me, and I saw the question in his eyes. What would I do? Let Silvio walk to get Victor, or demand justice now and risk everything? I thought about Natalie, about how she'd tried to prove herself in a world that ultimately killed her, and I thought about what she would want. Not revenge against the messenger. Revenge against the man who'd given the order. Take the deal, I said quietly. Get Victor. Gabriel's jaw clenched, but he nodded. Fine. Give us Victor, and you walk. But Silvio? He stepped closer. If you're lying, if this is a setup, I will find you. I will find everyone you've ever loved. And what happens to them will make you wish you died here tonight. Silvio swallowed hard. I understand. Then talk, and make it count. What followed was 30 minutes of information. Victor's location, a penthouse in downtown Chicago. His schedule, his security detail, his weaknesses. Silvio laid it all out with the precision of someone who'd been planning this revelation for months. When he finished, Gabriel pulled out his phone and made a call. Let him go. Full surveillance. If he contacts the Albanians, end him. Silvio and his men backed toward the exit. At the threshold, he paused and looked back at me. For what it's worth, Miss Cooper, your sister was brave. Braver than I was. I'm sorry I couldn't protect her. Then he was gone, disappearing into the night with his freedom bought in blood money and betrayal. Gabriel turned to me, and the fury in his eyes was breathtaking. We're going after Victor tomorrow night, and when we find him, I'm going to make sure he knows exactly why he's dying. Good, I said simply, because I want to be there when you do. The day of the operation felt surreal. Gabriel's people moved through the house like shadows, assembling weapons, reviewing blueprints, communicating in coded language. I stayed in Gabriel's office, monitoring communications equipment while Franco walked me through the plan. Victor's penthouse occupied the top 3 floors of a luxury building downtown. Heavy security, both electronic and human. You'll stay with me in the command vehicle, Franco said for the 3rd time. Monitor feeds, coordinate extraction if needed. You're not going inside. We'll see, I murmured, earning a sharp look. Gabriel appeared in the doorway, dressed in black tactical gear that somehow made him look even more dangerous. His dark eyes found mine across the room. Lauren, a word. He gestured to the hallway. I followed him to an empty room, watched him close and lock the door. The air between us crackled with tension. I need you to promise me something, he said, stepping close. If things go wrong tonight, if I don't make it out, don't. I pressed my fingers to his lips. Don't say it. I have to. His hand covered mine, pulled it away but didn't let go. If I don't make it, Franco has instructions. Money, protection, everything you need to disappear. Go back to Prague. Just survive. Gabriel, these past days with you, they've reminded me what it feels like to want something beyond revenge, to imagine a future that isn't just blood and darkness. His hand cupped my face. Natalie loved me, but she never understood this life. You, though, you understand the darkness because you carry it too. We barely know each other. It's not. His forehead rested against mine. You're not her shadow, Lauren. You're your own light. Sharper, colder, more dangerous. And it terrifies me how much I want that. I kissed him. Hard and desperate, pouring every complicated feeling into it. He responded instantly, backing me against the wall, hands tangling in my hair. The kiss deepened, became something consuming. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, reality settled back in. Come back alive, I whispered. That's all I ask. I intend to. He stepped back, the cold strategist returning. Victor dies tonight, for Natalie. 6 hours later, I sat in the command vehicle with Franco, watching feeds from cameras Gabriel's people had positioned around Victor's building. 15 men had gone in, Gabriel leading the assault team. The operation unfolded with brutal efficiency. First the security systems, disabled. Then the guards, neutralized quietly. Gabriel's team moved like ghosts. Approaching target floor. Gabriel's voice came through my earpiece. Gunfire erupted through the feed. Victor's personal security had been waiting. The screens showed chaos, muzzle flashes in the darkness, men falling. Gabriel, report, Franco barked. Static. Then, taking heavy fire. Victor's in the wind, heading for his private elevator. Block it. Don't let him reach the garage. More gunfire. Then I saw it. A secondary feed showing the garage level. A black SUV pulling up, engine running. Victor's escape route. Franco, look, I pointed. He's going to get away. Franco cursed. Boss, Victor's got a vehicle in the garage. You need to move now. Copy. Pursuing. But I could see what Franco couldn't. Gabriel's team was pinned down. By the time they fought through, Victor would be gone. I made a decision my father would have hated. Franco, which exit leads to the garage? Service entrance, east side. Why? Lauren, no. I was already moving, grabbing the spare earpiece and weapon. Someone needs to slow Victor down. You will get yourself killed. My father was a KGB operative. I know exactly what I'm capable of. I opened the door. Tell Gabriel I'm sorry. I ran before Franco could stop me, crossing toward the service entrance. Inside, harsh lighting and concrete walls. The smell of exhaust and gun oil. Voices echoed from below. Albanian speaking rapidly. 3 men, maybe 4. The garage appeared around a corner. 2 SUVs, engines running. Victor stood beside one, cold eyes and expensive suit. 3 guards surrounded him, weapons ready. I had seconds to act. My father's voice echoed in my memory. When outnumbered, create chaos. I fired twice into the air. The sound echoed like thunder and everyone froze. Then chaos. The guards spun toward me, weapons rising. I dove behind a concrete pillar as bullets chipped stone inches from my head. FBI! I shouted, gambling. Building is surrounded. A lie. But Victor didn't know that. Return fire kept me pinned. 1 guard advanced. I waited until he cleared the pillar, then fired. The bullet caught his shoulder. He went down, and I felt nothing. Just cold calculation. Then new gunfire erupted from the entrance. Gabriel and his team poured into the garage, and suddenly Victor's people were caught between 2 threats. The remaining guards went down under coordinated fire. Victor tried to run, but Gabriel was faster. He tackled the Albanian boss, and they went down hard. I emerged from cover, watching Gabriel pound his fist into Victor's face. Rage and grief channeled into violence. Gabriel, stop. I moved closer. We need him conscious. He froze, fist raised. Blood covered his knuckles. Slowly Gabriel stood, dragging Victor up with him. You killed her, Gabriel said, voice shaking. Say it. Victor spat blood. The Cooper woman? She was collateral, meant to hurt you. Her name was Natalie. Gabriel's gun pressed against Victor's temple. And she was worth 10 of you. Gabriel, I put my hand on his arm. Not like this. Make him answer for it properly. Turn him over to your contacts. Let him rot in prison where his own people can reach him. Gabriel's finger tightened on the trigger. For a heartbeat, I thought he'd ignore me. Then slowly, he lowered the weapon. "Franco, take him." Gabriel shoved Victor toward his second-in-command. "Make the calls. Get him buried somewhere he'll never see daylight again." Franco moved quickly, securing Victor while calling in favors. Around us, Gabriel's team conducted cleanup. Gabriel turned to me, and I saw it happen. The moment he processed what I'd done. "You could have died." His voice was quiet, dangerous. "You could have died, and it would have been my fault. I made a choice. Victor was escaping. Not you!" The words exploded from him. "I can't lose someone else. I can't watch someone else I care about bleed out because of this life. But you didn't. I'm fine." He pulled me against him, holding tight. "Don't do that again. Don't make me choose between revenge and keeping you safe." "Okay," I whispered. "I promise." We stood like that while his team worked around us. Eventually, Franco approached. "Boss, we need to move. Police will be here in 10 minutes. Gabriel released me slowly. "Lauren rides with me." The drive back was silent. Gabriel's hand found mine in the darkness, trembling. Not from fear. From the aftermath of violence. From nearly losing control. From having to choose. Back at the house, his people melted away. Gabriel led me upstairs to his suite. Into the bathroom where he turned on the shower and just stood there. Staring at nothing. "Let me help," I said quietly. I helped him remove the gear, the weapons, the vest. Beneath it all, bruises were already forming. A graze on his ribs where a bullet had come too close. "This needs cleaning," I said. "It's fine." "It's not fine. Sit down." He obeyed. I found a first aid kit, cleaned the graze with careful efficiency. My hands didn't shake. "That would come later. You're good at this," Gabriel observed. "I've had practice." "Your parents really were operatives." "Yes, they taught us everything. How to survive, how to disappear, how to do what's necessary." I taped a bandage over the wound. "How to live with the consequences of hard choices." "And can you live with what you did tonight?" I met his eyes. "I don't know yet. Ask me tomorrow." "Tomorrow." He pulled me close, buried his face in my hair. "Tomorrow we figure out what comes next. Tonight, I just need you close." I leaned into him, and we stayed like that while water ran in the shower, steam filling the room. Outside, the lake was dark and peaceful. Natalie had been avenged. Victor would pay for what he'd done. But the cost was written in blood and bullets and the knowledge that I'd crossed a line tonight. And the terrifying part was that I didn't want to go back. 2 weeks after Victor's capture, I stood in my hotel room staring at a plane ticket to Prague. The room felt sterile after Gabriel's lake house, all beige walls and generic art. My luggage sat packed by the door, ready for a life I wasn't sure I wanted anymore. My phone buzzed. "Gabriel," for the 3rd time that morning. I let it go to voicemail. We'd been dancing around the same conversation for days, both knowing we needed to talk, but neither brave enough to start. The truth was simpler and more complicated than either of us wanted to admit. I'd fallen for a man who commanded an empire built on violence. A man who'd loved my sister first. A man whose world had already taken one person I loved. I needed space to think, to breathe, to figure out who Lauren Cooper was when she wasn't running on adrenaline and grief. The knock on the door wasn't surprising. I'd known he'd come eventually. Gabriel stood in the hallway, dressed in casual clothes that somehow made him more intimidating. Dark jeans, leather jacket, that scar on his chin catching the light. He looked exhausted, haunted. "You weren't going to say goodbye," he said quietly. I didn't know what to say. "How about the truth?" He stepped inside, and I closed the door. "How about telling me you're leaving because you can't handle what we did? What I am. What this life costs. It's not that simple." "It's exactly that simple." He moved to the window, stared out at the skyline. Natalie struggled with the same thing. She wanted to love me but hated what loving me meant. The compromises, the violence, the constant danger. She tried to prove she could handle it, and it killed her. "I'm not Natalie. No, you're stronger, colder, more capable of surviving this world." He turned to face me. "Which is exactly why I shouldn't ask you to stay. Because you could. You could adapt, build a life here, become part of this. And watching you do that, Watching this darkness consume someone else I love would destroy me. The words hung in the air. Someone else I love. He'd said it casually, like it was obvious. You don't love me, I said, needing to believe it. You love what I represent. Closure with Natalie. A second chance. Is that what you think? He crossed to me, hands framing my face. I loved Natalie. Past tense. She was light and joy and everything good. But you, Lauren, you're something entirely different. What am I then? You're the first person who sees what I am and doesn't flinch. Who understands that some darkness can't be washed away with good intentions. Your sharp edges and cold calculation. But beneath that, you're fiercely loyal. Protective. His thumb brushed my cheekbone. You're everything I didn't know I needed. And I'm terrified of losing you before we even have a chance. I wanted to believe him. Wanted to think we could build something real from tragedy. But reality was less forgiving. Victor is in custody, I said, stepping back. Natalie has been avenged. The reason we came together doesn't exist anymore. So we need a reason? We can't just be two people who found each other in the dark. Not when one of those people runs a criminal empire, and the other has spent her whole life trying to escape that world. I gestured to the luggage. My parents fled the KGB so Natalie and I could have normal lives. How can I honor that by walking right back into the darkness they died to escape? Gabriel's expression hardened. Then go. Get on that plane. Go back to Prague, to your quiet life, pretending you didn't spend 2 weeks orchestrating revenge. Pretending you didn't shoot someone. Pretending you're not exactly like your parents, carrying darkness in your DNA. The words hit like physical blows because they were true. Violence came naturally to me. The cold calculation, the strategic thinking, the ability to do what was necessary. I was my parents' daughter, and no amount of distance would change that. What are you offering? I asked quietly. If I stay, what does that life look like? Complicated. Dangerous at times. But I'm working on changing things. Transitioning legitimate operations to Franco. Creating businesses that don't require looking over our shoulders. It'll take time, but I'm serious about it. Because of me? Because of us. Because I'm tired of this life. Natalie wanted me to change, but I wasn't ready. With you, he moved closer. With you, I want to be better. Not perfect, not innocent, but better. And if I can't do it, if I try to be with you and the weight breaks me, then I'll let you go. No guilt, no chains. But Lauren, his hand found mine. Don't walk away before we even try. Don't let fear of what might happen steal what we could have. I looked at our joined hands. His scarred from years of violence. Mine marked by the past 2 weeks. We were both damaged. Both carrying darkness. Maybe that was why this could work. I need conditions, I said finally. If I stay, I maintain my independence, my career, my identity. I'm not becoming someone's kept woman. I wouldn't want you to. And you follow through on the transition. Franco takes over dangerous operations within 6 months. Or I'm gone. Agreed. And we visit Natalie's grave. Together. I need to talk to her. Explain this. Make peace with loving the man she loved first. Gabriel's expression softened. We can go today. The cemetery was quiet. Autumn leaves covering the ground in shades of copper and gold. Natalie's grave was in the newer section. Her headstone simple. Natalie Cooper. Beloved daughter. Sister. Fiancée. Gabriel stood beside me, his hand finding the small of my back. Support without pressure. Hi, Nat, I said quietly. I'm sorry I wasn't here sooner. Sorry for 3 years of silence, for letting pride keep us apart. Wind rustled through nearby trees. I met him. Gabriel. The man you loved. I glanced at him. You were right. He's worth the risk. Worth the complications. I didn't understand that before, but I do now. I loved her, Gabriel said, speaking to the stone. But I wasn't good enough for her. Wasn't ready to be what she needed. I failed her, and I'm sorry. Tears tracked down my face. I'm going to try, Nat. To be with him. I need you to be okay with that. I need to believe you'd understand. The wind picked up, and somewhere a bird called. It felt like permission. Gabriel pulled me against his side. She'd want you happy. She'd want both of us to find something good from all this pain. You think so? I know so. Natalie was many things, but she wasn't vindictive. She loved you. That doesn't stop just because she's gone. We stood there for long minutes. Finally, I placed flowers on the grave, white lilies like the ones at her funeral. I'll come back, I promised. I'll tell you how it goes. You won't be forgotten, Nat. Not by me, not by him. You'll always be part of our story. As we walked back to the car, Gabriel's arm around my shoulders, I felt something shift. Acceptance. The past couldn't be changed. Natalie was gone, and two people who'd found each other through tragedy were choosing to see if love could grow in darkness. Where to? Gabriel asked as we reached the car. I looked back at Natalie's grave one last time, then at the man beside me. Home, I said simply. Take me home. He understood. Not my hotel, not Prague. Home to the lake house, to the life we were choosing to build together. The drive back was quiet, comfortable. Gabriel's hand found mine across the console, and I didn't pull away. This was my choice, my risk, my leap into the unknown. And for the first time since arriving in Chicago, I felt something beyond grief and anger. I felt hope, fragile and frightening, but undeniably real. The lake house appeared through the trees, windows glowing warm. Franco stood on the porch, but he smiled when he saw us. "Welcome back, Miss Cooper," he said. "Your room is ready. Though I suspect you'll be needing different accommodations now." "Franco," Gabriel warned, but there was no heat in it. "What?" "I'm just saying what everyone's thinking." Franco's expression turned serious. "For what it's worth, I'm glad you stayed. Boss needs someone who isn't afraid to challenge him." "That's the plan," I said. Inside, the house felt different. Less like a monument to Natalie, and more like a place that could hold new memories. Her photos were still there, still honored, but they didn't dominate. Gabriel had made changes, creating space for me without erasing her. "I'll have your things moved from the hotel tomorrow," he said, leading me upstairs. "But tonight, I just want you here. Want to know you're safe, that you're staying, that this is real." We reached the master suite, and he paused. "Last chance to change your mind. To say this is too fast, too complicated, too much." I kissed him instead of answering. Slow and deep, pouring certainty into it. When we finally broke apart, he rested his forehead against mine. "I'll spend the rest of my life proving you made the right decision." "Good," I whispered, "because I'm going to hold you to every promise you made today." Outside, the lake reflected the rising moon, dark and peaceful. Tomorrow would bring challenges, complications, the hard work of building something new from broken pieces. But tonight, for the first time since Natalie's death, I felt like I was exactly where I belonged. In the darkness, finding light. In the grief, finding love. In the ending, finding a beginning. Based on the outline and the style of the previous transcriptions, here is part 8. 9 months had passed since I'd chosen to stay. 9 months of watching Gabriel slowly transform from a man who ruled through fear into someone building something legitimate. The transition wasn't easy or clean, but it was real. Tonight was the culmination of everything. A charity gala at the Four Seasons, benefiting victims of organized crime. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Gabriel Donatelli, former Mafia Boss, now funding programs to help people escape the life he'd once commanded. I stood in front of the mirror, adjusting the emerald dress Gabriel had chosen. 6 months pregnant, my body had changed in ways I was still adjusting to. The baby kicked, reminding me that everything we'd built had become tangible, real, impossible to walk away from. "You look beautiful," Gabriel said from the doorway. He wore a tuxedo that made him look dangerously handsome, though his eyes were softer now. Fatherhood suited him, even before our daughter arrived. "I look like I swallowed a basketball. You look like everything I never knew I wanted." He crossed to me, hands settling on my swollen belly. "Are you sure you're up for tonight? We can skip it if you're tired." "And miss watching Franco officially take over?" "Not a chance." Tonight's event served dual purposes. Publicly, it was charity. Privately, it marked Gabriel's complete exit from the organization. Franco would assume control of all remaining operations, legitimate and otherwise, while Gabriel focused on the legal businesses we'd been building. The ballroom glittered with Chicago's elite. Politicians, businessmen, socialites who'd once feared Gabriel now sipped champagne beside him, pretending the past didn't exist. Money had a way of buying amnesia. Franco approached, looking uncomfortable in his tuxedo. "Boss, everything's ready. Contracts are signed, transfers are complete. As of midnight, it's all mine. Not boss anymore," Gabriel corrected gently. "Just Gabriel. You're the one they answer to now." Franco's expression was complicated. Pride and apprehension mixed together. "You sure about this? Walking away completely? I'm building something better. For her. For our daughter." Gabriel's hand found mine. "The old life is yours. Make it whatever you want it to be. I'll make you proud." "You already have." I excused myself to use the restroom, navigating through the crowd with the gracelessness of late pregnancy. The hallway was quieter, and I took a moment to breathe, pressing a hand to my lower back. That's when I noticed him. A man stood near the service entrance, watching the ballroom with intense focus. Mid-30s, dark suit. But something about his posture was wrong. Too rigid, too alert. His hand kept drifting to his jacket, and I recognized the gesture. He was armed. My training kicked in despite months away from that world. I observed without seeming to, noting details. The slight bulge under his jacket, the way he tracked Gabriel's movements, the Albanian accent I caught when he spoke into a phone. Victor's cousin. Had to be. Silvio had warned us there were relatives who might seek revenge, but we'd thought we'd neutralized the threat. I moved quickly, circling back toward the ballroom. Found Franco first. Threat. Service entrance. Albanian. Armed. Watching Gabriel. Franco's expression hardened instantly. "Get to Gabriel. Now. Don't let him out of your sight." I pushed through the crowd, pregnancy making me slower than I wanted. Gabriel was near the stage, speaking with a city council member, oblivious to danger. The lights dimmed for the scheduled presentation. Perfect cover for an attack. I reached Gabriel, grabbed his arm. "We need to move. Now." "Lauren, what?" "Albanian. Service entrance. He's here for you." Gabriel's transformation was instantaneous. The civilized businessman disappeared, replaced by the predator. His hand found the small of my back, guiding me toward an exit. Too late. The man emerged from the service entrance, weapon rising. Everything happened in seconds. Franco appeared from nowhere, tackling the Albanian before he could fire. They went down hard, and the crowd erupted into screams. Gabriel shielded me with his body, backing us toward cover. More security poured in, Gabriel's former men who still protected him. The Albanian was subdued, dragged away, but the damage was done. The illusion of safety, of normalcy, shattered like glass. Gabriel held me, hands checking for injury. "Are you hurt? Is the baby—" "We're fine, I'm fine." But my hands were shaking now, adrenaline catching up. "How did he get in? Your security?" Was focused on external threats. He came as catered staff. Gabriel's jaw clenched. "This is my fault. I should have been more careful. This is Victor's cousin's fault. And it's over now." I pressed his hand to my belly where our daughter kicked. "We're alive. We're together. That's what matters." Police arrived, asking questions we'd answered 100 times before. Former associates vouched for Gabriel's reformed status. The Albanian was taken into custody, and slowly, the chaos settled. In the aftermath, we stood on the hotel balcony overlooking the lake. The same lake we'd stared at from Gabriel's house months ago. Dark and peaceful. And indifferent. "Maybe Franco should handle everything," Gabriel said quietly. "Maybe I'm fooling myself thinking I can build something clean from this. You already are building it. One foundation at a time." I leaned into him. Tonight was one man's vendetta. Tomorrow is a foundation helping abuse survivors. A scholarship program. Legitimate businesses employing people who need second chances. That's your legacy now. Our legacy. His hand covered mine on my belly. Her legacy. Speaking of which, we need to finalize her name. I thought we agreed. Natalie. I'd suggested it weeks ago. And Gabriel had cried. Not from grief this time, but from something gentler. Gratitude that I wanted to honor my sister this way. Natalie Cooper Donatelli, I said, testing it. Our daughter, carrying both our pasts into a better future. She'll be extraordinary, just like her mother. 3 weeks later, I sat in the same hospital where I'd once translated for victims of violence, now giving birth to hope made flesh. Gabriel held my hand through every contraction, every push, every moment of pain that led to something beautiful. When they placed our daughter in my arms, tiny and perfect and ours, I looked at Gabriel and saw tears streaming down his face. She has your eyes, he whispered, blue like the lake, and your stubborn chin. I traced the line of her jaw. Natalie, meet your father, the man who loved your namesake and chose to become better. Meet your mother, Gabriel added, kissing my forehead. The woman who saved me when I didn't know I needed saving. Later, when visitors had gone and the room was quiet, Gabriel pulled out his phone and showed me a photo. Natalie's grave, now marked with fresh flowers and a small plaque. Aunt Natalie, it read. Forever loved, never forgotten. I went this morning, he explained. Told her about the baby, about you, about how we're trying to build something good from all the pain. What did she say? Nothing. Everything. The wind blew, and it felt like permission, like she was telling us to stop looking back and start looking forward. I held our daughter closer, breathing in her newborn scent. Forward then, toward whatever comes next. Together, always. Outside, the sun rose over Chicago, painting the sky in shades of gold and rose. A new day, a new beginning, a new life built from darkness and grief, and the stubborn choice to try. Natalie Cooper Donatelli slept peacefully in my arms, unaware that she was the bridge between past and future. The proof that sometimes the most broken people could create something whole. That love could grow in the darkest soil and bloom into something extraordinary. And somewhere, I like to think, my sister smiled.